guys, what's up? It is Matthew here, and this is going to be the first episode of Matt's Garage. Now, I've done some YouTubing in my life, and I know how it goes. You got to have a camera, but honestly, I just use my iPhone usually. So today, I'm going to be working on a 1990 GMC Sierra, and we're going to be looking at things you should be checking when buying a used car. Now, come up here. And we'll start off with what type of engine this is. This is a small block 350 Chevy 5.7 engine. The engine itself has about 198,000 miles on it. It's been running really good since I bought it used. But when you buy a used car, there's a lot of things you want to check. You want to check your oil, you want to check coolant, you want to check almost everything, liquid, tires, you know, all the good stuff. So now I'm going to start with the air filter. Air filter over here looks absolutely fine. I mean, sure, it's got a little bit of dirt on it. It's a little bit dirty, but that's what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be dirty. This is a little bit alarming because there's supposed to be a seal around here, but it looks like the seal is disintegrated almost. Now let's look at the carburetor. The carburetor seems to be throttle body injection. That's a 2-barrel, and it's a little bit dirty. There's a little bit of grime I can get on my hands real fast. But other than that, it doesn't look too bad. I mean, looks like the jets have been replaced. Stuff has been done that keep it running right. Now next what we're going to make sure is the battery terminals connected to the right area. So you've got your positive and you've got your negative. Obviously you can see on the positive terminal, they almost basically stripped that thing. So you might need a vice grips or something like that to take that off. Now if I look down here, it goes all the way down to the starter, which is under the vehicle, which I've already tested how it starts fine. Something else that should throw up a red flag is missing air conditioning caps. One for high, one for low. Obviously I know this is high and this is low because of the size of the tubes, but something else that is alarming, the vehicles, I don't remember what year it was, but they used to use R12 refrigerant. Now R12 refrigerant is illegal and it's a pollutant to the atmosphere, so they outlawed it and changed it to 134A. And what I see here is Sharpie markered over the R112, and they put an arrow down to 134A. Now that would be okay, but I don't know if they did the actual switch to make it where it would run on 134A. So basically, if I want to have working air conditioning, I'm going to have to change out this compressor, and I'm going to have to change out a few other things, but that's not today. I don't have those pieces. Next thing I want to check is actually under here. Let me just slide that out real quick and put that down. Right here is a PCV valve. This actually regulates what goes out your exhaust, and if you can hear that, that's pretty healthy. I mean, sure, it's a little bit dirty around there. I recently replaced that, but that's nothing that's bad. That's just gonna make sure your oil is not bad. Next thing you want to check is your oil. Now, you don't always want to take the first reading. You want to wipe it off, put it back in for a second assessment of how much engine oil you actually do have in the engine and what conditions in. As you can see, it's in a good operating range of the vehicle, so you're absolutely perfect with that. Next thing you want to check is if there's any leakage from different types of caps, such as the radiator caps. You know, the radiator hose is leaking, or the clamps gone bad. Can you leak oil from here? Over here on my coolant reservoir, I'm gonna have to get a new cap because this leaks right in here. I think it dried up, but when I was running it earlier, this cap has a tendency, I guess, to leak through on this. I don't know if it's the reservoir or the cap, and I might just go to the junkyard and replace both and be done with it. Next thing you want to check is your coolant levels on your vehicle. Now, obviously, mine's filled with coolant, as you can see, and this has a nice little extra reservoir fill. Now, you see this cap, you think it's just rusty, but really, when I take this to it and clean it off a little bit, you see that that's super dirty. So one thing I'm going to want to do to that is soak this in some sort of cleaner so I can clean this up and drain all the coolant out and, you know, flush it so it's ready to go. Next thing you want to check is your tires. If you come over here, you'll see these are brand new Definity Dakota HTs. Like, these things have the tread of brand new almost, and they're 265/75 R15s, which are not the stock vehicle specifications. Inside the door, the vehicle specifications, tire size can be LT 225/75 R16 or 225/75 R16 for the rear and the front. So the rims are definitely different because those are 275 or 265/75 R15s in the front and the back. Now you can definitely notice the difference between the front and the back. The front has tread of brand new tires, whereas the back, it's more of almost like a tire that's about to explode. And yes, they are the same size. Let's see. 31, 10, 50, R15 LT. Actually, these are a little bit different size differentiation. So that's just different size. Next thing you want to check is if your gas is full and if the gauge shows it, which my gauge shows it. But something that actually is a red flag is that I can just freely know that. That's not, healthy. But that's something I'll fix in a different episode. Next thing, you want to inspect your interior. By doing this, I mean getting in it, test driving it, making sure every feature works, locks, windows, lights, interior lights, everything. You want to check everything over so you don't miss anything. You want to make sure your cruise control works, which mine does. I've tested it. You want to make sure your window wipers work, which mine do. You want to make sure you can blast your window wiper fluid onto the glass so it can clean it. And in this case, I actually have one clogged. And then you just want to make sure everything else works. Air conditioning, vents, switch over, all that safe stuff. And you want to make sure your parking brake's in good working order. Whereas you can see here, I can engage my brake, but when I go to put it back up, it's loose almost. It's like the spring's broken or something. You want to make sure your pads are good. You want to make sure your brakes are not, soft. If your brakes are soft, that can actually cause a bad stop, which means when you go to stop, it takes a while to stop because your brakes are not bled right and you may have a brake leak somewhere. Now, as you can see, another thing that would throw up a red flag is if you look here on this brake fluid, it's almost down to its minimum. And I have diagnosed that, in which the diagnosis shows I do have a leak in the rear passenger brake cylinder because it's a drum brake called the wheel cylinder. Next thing you want to check is if your headers have gaskets, and in this case these ones do have gaskets. I can see the gaskets. The only thing that does scare me a little bit is that there is a header bolt missing from here. So there's one there and there's not one there, but there's one back there. So that is something I'll have to buy from, I don't know, AutoZone or something like that, who sells them. And also you want to make sure there's no leaks. Guy I bought it from said there was a leak of the block. The entire block was leaking. So he had that resealed. So that was definitely something I checked. And so I had that resealed just to make sure it was sealed for good. And other than that, you just really want to check making sure the electric's fine, make sure everything runs, make sure it's mechanically sound, make sure your spark plugs are in good working order and you have the right sequence, because if it's the wrong sequence, backfires and it's terrible. Oxygen sensors, make sure those are okay. Make sure there's no holes in your exhaust, where there is one in my exhaust, and that's not healthy for the vehicle. And until next time, I'll see you guys in the next video, but don't forget to subscribe and like this so you can see more of my videos in the future. Thank you guys. See you later.